This is P1 listener James Elliott, and you're watching the X Factor podcast. Brought to you by Bottom Gun Coffee. Now be different or be invisible.
Welcome everybody to the X Factor podcast, episode number
49.
Yeah, 49.
That's awesome.
Rapidly approaching 50.
Yeah.
Or 51, maybe.
What?
You're rapidly approaching 51.
And 50.
No, 50 already came out.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
Because we put that ahead.
It's that Common Core math. Yeah, come on, play the game.
You know the thing.
You know the thing. All right, so this episode of the X Factor podcast is brought to you by our new sponsor, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Brandon's our new sponsor.
He's our boy. You're my boy, Brandon.
Let's go.
Yeah. So, and we're also brought to you by our title sponsor, Bottom Gun Coffee. Head on over to bottomguncoffee.com. Check out all the fabulous flavors they have. They have morning blend pecan.
Pecan is
or
available.
pecan.
Yeah.
And
Ahab's Revenge.
Ahab's Revenge, not to be confused with Montezuma's Revenge.
Please don't.
And the dark roast, which is
Yes.
also fantabulous. Bottomguncoffee.com. This episode is X Factor. Well, this episode is dedicated to our show producer who couldn't be with us today. The original,
Yes.
the original X Factor disaster himself, Parker.
He's not a disaster.
Disaster in training.
Train wreck?
Okay.
Wreck in training?
Yeah. X Factor disasters.
Yeah, that's kind of interesting topic. We didn't really cover disasters, have we? We've talked about other things around, but we haven't really covered disasters, like big time disasters. And the thing is, like, what's the X Factor lesson from disasters? Well, we're about to find out. So,
You know what would be a cool disaster?
what's that?
Is if you created a solution that you put in a distribution vehicle that would allegedly get emergency use authorization to help stop a pandemic. And then what actually happened was the people who got that
Thing.
the thing, actually spread the disease more than the people who didn't. That would be an X Factor disaster. We can't really cover that one because we're still in the middle of it.
Right, right.
Yeah. You got to be careful with your word choice so you don't get
Demonetized?
demonetized,
Deplatformed?
deleted, deplatformed. You know,
Yeah.
I don't want to get the D. Demonetized, deleted, deplatformed.
Nobody,
Yeah.
wants to get the D.
Nobody here, at least, wants the D. But we are talking about disasters.
Yes.
And mine's kind of complicated, but it's almost like history repeats itself.
Does it?
Yeah, how a World War II disaster and cover-up led to a cancer treatment breakthrough.
What? That's like a clickbait title.
Yeah.
Wait, so say that one more time.
So how a World War II disaster
Yeah.
and cover-up
And cover up.
led to a cancer treatment breakthrough.
Okay, I'm interested. You
Yeah.
got my attention.
Yeah.
Can you see it without?
Yeah, there was a German attack at Bari. Did I pronounce that right?
Barre?
Bari. Barry?
Bari.
Bari. Not Bali. Bari. Which was dubbed Little Pearl Harbor. Told you Germans bombed Pearl Harbor.
You were right.
It unknowingly hit an Allied ship full of poisonous mustard gas bombs.
That's not good.
It was December 2nd, 1943. They sank 17 ships, killed more than 1,000 Americans, British servicemen, and hundreds of civilians.
Mhm.
It was a surprise air raid. There was an American Liberty ship carrying secret cargo of 2,000 mustard bombs to be used in retaliation if Hitler resorted to gas warfare. Well, their lucky strike or not so lucky strike released a poisonous cloud of sulfur mustard vapor over the entire harbor and liquid mustard into the water. Not French's mustard either.
This is not the good mustard.
No, not the good mustard
Not
they
the
put
brown
on soft
mustard.
pretzels.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is mustard gas.
Yep.
Yeah.
Which prompted an Allied cover-up of the chemical weapons disaster. And it also led to an Army doctor's serendipitous,
That's his name?
serendipity, and
Yes.
Army doctor's serendipitous
Yeah.
discovery of a new treatment for cancer.
I thought it was Dr. Serendipitous.
Yeah, her name is Sarah Dipendus. Dr. Sarah Dipendus.
Don't we have a P1 listener?
Dippin' Dots.
When don't we have
Dippin' Dots. That's my Dipendus. Dippin' Dots.
We have a P1 listener, Sarah Dippin' Dots, right?
Sarah, no. Sarah
No.
Swenson.
Swenson. That's
Shout
it.
out, Sarah.
Sarah.
Eisenhower and Churchill coordinated an immediate cover-up,
Wow.
thwarting the victim's treatment.
Wow.
Yeah. So if you think about like how the press cover things today
Yeah.
and how we cover things up,
Yeah.
it's like we've learned nothing from history.
Well, we haven't, you know. Well,
And they tried to cover it up because they were afraid if they knew, the Germans knew we did this, they would launch it would be an excuse to launch an all-out chemical war. So in a way, I understand, like, okay, military secrecy here, but at the same time, medical personnel were not alerted to any like hazardous contamination that spread via the air, the water, people's uniforms, skin, anything, never mind mixing with tons of fuel oil from the damaged ships.
That's wild. So, just to repeat the story. So the Germans bombed a ship. They attacked a convoy or ship, right? And it had mustard gas bombs in it. And these things exploded and it injured, killed a ton of Allied troops, right?
Yep.
And the government covered it up.
Yep.
Wow. I don't even know about this story in history.
I told you I'm a military history expert.
I noticed that. Yeah.
Which means I know how to go online and Google military history and read on the History Channel, history.com. Yeah.
Really what this podcast is all about is us going on history.com and reciting facts.
Yeah. So what's interesting is the patients developed red inflamed skin and blisters on their bodies the size of balloons.
Like balloons, like a birthday
Like
balloon?
balloons, yeah.
That's not good.
Within 24 hours, the medical, like the wards, the hospital wards, were full of men with their eyes swollen shut.
Wow.
Yep.
These are the same people that voted for Biden?
Well, most of these people are dead, so the correct answer would be yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So these people began dying, sudden mysterious deaths. The doctors were baffled and at a loss because they weren't armed with even remotely close to the full information.
Right.
Where did these balloon-sized blisters come from? Did they come from a bat?
Right. They come from a lab?
A wet market?
Right.
A lab?
A pendulum?
A pandolin? A pangolin?
Was that a pendulum?
No, it's not a pandolin or a mandolin or a Mandalorian. It's a pangolin. But anyway, rumors spread that the Germans had this top secret unknown poisonous gas. Yeah. The investigator who was put in charge of trying to figure this out, a chemical warfare specialist attached to Eisenhower's staff, That didn't sound good. The chemical warfare specialist
Who's attached to?
who worked for President Eisenhower, Dwight D. Eisenhower.
He wasn't attached to his staff.
He wasn't attached to his staff. I'm just reading from the internet. It wasn't me. I was just reading verbatim. So he was sent to the scene of the disaster, but his findings were censored. Yep.
Fact checkers again.
Yep.
Yep.
Shout out Mark Zuckerberg.
Hi, Mark.
So yeah.
Wait. There's one piece that's missing. What's the cure to cancer?
Doesn't say.
Oh.
In this whole article, like the most important part, it doesn't say.
Well, that's disappointing.
Yeah.
But there's what there is there's a.
Oh, here it is.
I was trying to wing it here. There's no punchline.
It was they studied the chemical's effect on white blood cells.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was the toxic effect on white blood cells, which, oh my goodness. So the investigator's boss, his name is Dusty Rhodes.
Really?
Not to be confused with professional wrestler, the American Dream, Dusty Rhodes. Colonel Cornelius P. Dusty Rhodes. Wonder if he was a Rhodes Scholar.
He could be. Yeah.
So Dusty Rhodes was, as a civilian, he was the head of New York Memorial's Hospital Cancer Treatment Center.
So he figured out there was a toxic effect on white blood cells, and
Yep.
we were able to solve that, work that out, and give
Yep.
us a not a cure, but a way to help cancer.
Yeah, almost like the chemical could be used in a weapon to fight cancer. So it
Ah,
might have been an early form of like chemotherapy.
okay.
Yeah. And, just to kind of calibrate down the dosage of those chemicals in order to help heal cancer patients.
It's funny because when you told me about this, I've never heard of this story. I've never heard of this story.
You ever heard of the Sloan Kettering
I
Institute?
have.
Yeah.
Yes.
Rhodes in 1945 persuaded General Motors typhoons, Alfred P. Sloan and Charles, it's Typhoon, right? Tycoon?
Yeah.
So he persuaded the General Motors typhoons, Alfred P. Sloan and I.P. Freely.
Oh, really? That guy?
Charles F. Kettering, Sloan and Kettering. When I heard Alfred P. Sloan, the first thing I thought of was I.P. Freely.
I.P. Freely,
Yeah.
yeah. Of course.
So Sloan and Kettering to fund the Sloan Kettering Institute for Cancer Research.
Interesting.
They created a state-of-the-art laboratory staffed by wartime scientists
Interesting.
to synthesize new mustard derivatives and develop the first medicine for cancer, known today as chemotherapy.
Wow. So wait, chemotherapy came.
From the mustard gas accident.
Wow.
Isn't that wild?
How many, seriously, P1 listeners, have you heard this story before? I've never heard this story before. Wow. This is why you tune into the X Factor podcast, because
You get smarter.
90% of the time you don't, but 10% of the time it's amazing content.
And you suffer through that 90. You suffer through that 90 to get to the 10, and that's why we love you.
We do love you, because you realize that there might be gold in this hill of dirt, and we appreciate you for that.
You just called our podcast a pile of dirt?
It's not highbrow.
Is that the hill you want to die on?
It's
the
not.
hill of dirt?
It's not highbrow content, okay? We're not talking about cures for cancer. Oh, we are.
It ain't rocket surgery.
No, it's
Yeah.
not. Yeah.
So that's my X Factor disaster.
X Factor. I don't even know how do I
A
talk
wicked pisser. X Factor disaster, as they would say up here in Maine.
live from Maine, right? Wicked piss. Hey, but that's a great story.
I try.
I don't even want to tell my story. My story's not as good.
No one's grading our stories.
That's true. But
I mean, I'll readily admit yours probably won't be as good.
I don't think so. Not this time.
Yeah.
But I think what your story, the tract of your story is very similar to mine. There's a disaster, but something came out of it good, right?
It's always a silver lining if you look close enough.
Right. So my story it takes place in 1989, and there is a large oil vessel.
Were you a senior in high school?
89.
Sophomore in college, weren't you?
I was a senior in college.
I was a freshman in college.
89?
89.
Oh, I graduated in 89.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what was a real popular song in 89?
Wham?
No. It Takes Two to Make a Thing Go Right.
Is that 89?
That was DJ Jazzy Jeff and the Fresh Prince, wasn't it?
Yeah.
That was 89.
Okay.
Yeah.
No, all right, I believe you. Well, and the other thing that happened was there was this oil tanker going through Prince William Sound in Alaska, the Exxon Valdez. You might have heard of it.
Prince Albert?
No, not Prince Albert. It's Prince William Sound, and it's the Exxon Valdez.
What did Prince William sound like?
Well, he sounded like
A large crash.
it sounded like a large crash. On March 24th, 1989, Exxon Valdez, an oil tanker owned by Exxon, was heading to Long Beach, California through Prince William Sound, and they hit.
Is it Valdez or Valdez? It's spelled Valdez.
What did I say?
Valdez. But I think, and comment below
Please.
if you know the answer, I think it is pronounced Valdez, but it's spelled Valdez.
It's spelled Valdez, but I think I remember everybody's calling it Valdez. So I'm going to call it Valdez.
Yeah.
So,
But the football player Des Bryant,
yeah,
it's spelled D-E-Z.
yeah.
He's not. He doesn't pronounce his name Dees Bryant
Or these nuts.
or Dees Nuts. Yeah. It's a tough language to learn.
It
English.
really is. It's
Yeah.
hard. I'm still struggling. with
I'm
it.
like an ESL student at this point in my life.
Same here. All right, so we got this Exxon Valdez tanker, and it hits the Bly Reef, opens up the hull, rips it open.
A reef,
A reef.
like a Christmas wreath.
No, a reef. Not a wreath.
A wreath.
Reef with the F.
Aretha Franklin.
Not Aretha Franklin either. It's a reef, like a.
Like reefer?
It's not a reefer either.
What's a reef? Like a coral reef?
Yeah, only this isn't
So
coral.
like Jimmy Buffett and the Coral Reefer Band.
Exactly. That's 100% what it is.
Okay.
Gas is an opening on the side of the ship. 11 million gallons of crude oil spills
Huge. Bigly.
into this really sensitive ecosystem, right? And this oil spills across 1,300 miles and devastates the wildlife population in this area. It's considered the worst oil spill worldwide in terms of damage to the environment. So, according to the National Park Services, 250,000 seabirds are killed, 2,800 sea otters, you know, the little cute little otters?
Yeah.
2,800 of them wiped off this earth because of that. 300 harbor seals, 250 bald eagles, America, and 22 killer whales, and billions of salmon died because of this oil spill. So I don't know.
So Free Willy, that kind of whale.
Yeah, killer whales.
The Free Willy whale.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was my favorite movie, by the way.
Really?
Yeah.
Was that about President Clinton?
Did you hear Clinton just got admitted? I'm not kidding. He just got admitted to the hospital.
What? No.
Not for COVID, but for some sort of other infectious disease, which I'm guessing is chlamydia.
Are you serious?
I'm dead serious.
This is not a joke. It's
No,
not-
he just got admitted to the hospital. So, and I saw that on Twitter. Let's see if I could.
Is he locked in the hospital? Do we have to free Willy?
We do. Let me see if I can find the tweet. Hang on. So go ahead, as you was before you is.
Once again, episode 49 and a half, we're going to talk to you about Bill Clinton's diseases. But so anyways, killed all these, and if you were around that time, all in the news, all they had were pictures of people, these volunteers, picking up these seabirds, and they were washing them with, do you remember?
They're washing with like dish soap.
Dawn. Yeah,
Dawn.
Dawn takes the
Yeah.
grease away, takes the
Yeah.
oil away. They were washing.
Dawn takes grease
They were
out of the way.
They were.
That was the jingle.
It was
Yeah.
exactly. So they were polishing their dolphins and polishing.
That sounds like it's code for something really inappropriate, John.
They were cleaning these birds.
I'd like the record to reflect that I personally, unlike my co-host, I personally do not polish my dolphin with dish soap.
Anyways,
You do you though.
But
Literally and figuratively, you do you.
so they were trying to clean up the birds, and
That's also code for something, isn't it? He
I don't know
cleans
what it
up his bird with Dawn.
anyways,
Take a deep breath, recover.
Right, I don't think I can. But here's the thing.
Cue up the breaking news. At CNN, just in, former President Bill Clinton has been admitted to a hospital. This is 15 hours ago. Has been admitted to a hospital for a non-COVID related infection. He is in good spirits, which means he's drunk or drinking.
He's in good
Literally
spirits.
good spirits.
We'll be in good spirits tonight.
A spokesman says. So someone called at the Coach Randall retweeted that, but above it he wrote STD.
Oh.
And then someone named Wes Lee Snipes, not to be confused with Wesley Snipes, commented, I want to feel bad for him and empathetic, but then I think about what he's done to all those underage girls. It becomes really hard to feel bad for him. And Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yes.
A woman on Twitter who's FO Mom, she said in regards to an STD, my thoughts exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. See,
Well-
he has a non-COVID infection.
By the time this podcast actually releases, we'll know what the cause of that infection is. So, are we right or wrong? Was it an STD? We'll know.
It was the
Missed that too. Oh,
you were too busy polishing your dolphin. So the Exxon Valdez.
so the silver lining in the story, which I
Yes.
was working on getting to, was they came out. Congress passed the Oil Pollution Act of 1990 and outlined it.
Outlandish.
It was outlandish, but it outlined new procedures for designing, operating ships, and how to handle oil spills.
How do you handle oil spills?
I don't know.
How do you prevent oil spills after this incident?
Well, in the future, what they did is they went to double hull ships. So one of the things that came out of the Valdez accident was the concept of double hull ships. So that if you puncture the outside hull, there's still an inside hull holding that oil in place so it doesn't all spill out. And I think
You know what I started doing after the tragic Exxon Valdez accident?
no.
Started wearing 2 condoms for that exact same reason, John.
Without itching powder in it.
Without, yeah.
With or without? Would you like with or without? Yeah, that's the same thing.
Why don't they make double hulled condoms? Right?
Comment below. I don't know. That's a good question. I have no idea. Seems like that's actually entrepreneurs.
Yep.
Entrepreneurs alert. Wow.
It's seeming like a good idea. It's seeming like a really good idea right about now. Double hulled condoms.
Write that down. EHCs. That's it. That's the name of our company.
Right?
We can call it the Big Valdez.
Wow.
So
Where were we? What
I'm
were you
trying
trying
to
to
get-
say?
I think
You were
we're trying to
talking
say
about
there's some-
double hulled ships, oil tankers.
there's a lesson here in both the case of the mustard gas disaster and in the case of a man-made oil spill, unnatural disaster, right? Is that we learned something from that and that we improved on we learned from something from it that actually benefited society, right?
Yep.
So the question is, in your business, as you make a major mistake or you have something bad happens, the question is, what can you learn from it? How can you use from that experience to grow the business and to continue to compete and to continue to get better? So, you could look at it as half empty or half full, right? The glass.
I think you meant the hull.
No, it was half
I think it was
empty.
totally
It was
empty.
totally empty. But so what can you do when something bad happens to your company? What can you learn from that? How can you improve your business based on that?
Yeah, because if you don't emerge stronger from a disaster, something you did or didn't do after the disaster struck was why you didn't learn from it and not repeat it and emerge stronger. We talked in episode, I believe, 46, maybe, about the Tylenol scare with Johnson
yeah.
Johnson.
Yeah.
And they pulled all those bottles off the shelves nationwide, and they came up with a triple sealed, child-proof, tamper-proof packaging.
Yep.
They emerged from that disaster stronger, and then they lost their way, and the whole company went to hell. But that's another story for another time. You can go listen to that episode if you haven't
Yep.
already.
No, it's a great episode, but it's a similar story.
They're all
right?
great episodes.
You have favorites though?
This one might be my all-time favorite.
Is it because that Parker's not here?
No, because, well, yeah, the last two have been my all-time favorites because Parker's not here. No, we just came up with $1 million invention, the double-hulled condom.
Yeah, that's it.
You should call it the dolphin.
That's a good one. I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I like DHC. That's a great name for a company.
Okay.
Yeah.
DHC Enterprises, it is.
It is. Yeah.
Not to be confused with BGC, Bottom Gun Coffee.
Bottom Gun Coffee.
And that's who this podcast is brought to you by. Much probably to his dismay, if he's watching this episode, Bill Mosier, the CEO of
Sorry, Bill.
BGC. Yeah, but it's great. Go get you some Bottom Gun Coffee, and if you use the promo code Parker, you will get 0% off because everything Parker touches becomes dysfunctional
Or deleted.
and is more expensive.
Right.
They might charge you extra
Yeah.
if you try and use a Parker promo code.
Parker.
So,
Parker.
yep. So there you have it, and there it is, folks. This has been X Factor Disasters,
Yeah.
episode
Number
49.
49.
Yep.
Yeah. Which means that you've already listened to episode 50
Yeah, because 50 comes before 49.
because
It's that Common Core math. You know the thing.
the thing.
Yeah.
But the reason why 48 and 49 went ahead of 50 is that you want to be different.
Ahead, you mean after?
I don't know.
After.
I screwed that up.
After. Yeah.
What?
Because normally 48 and 49 do come before or ahead of 50. They're coming after 50 in the podcast subscription.
So the reason why 48 and 49 came after 50
Mhm.
is because we want to be different or be invisible.
And it's that new Common Core math.
Do they even talk about Common Core anymore? This seems like there's bigger things
There's
we talk
nothing
about.
common about the Common Core. Yeah.
Right, but I mean, don't you think the parents at school board meetings are shouting about other things?
You mean the domestic terrorists?
Oh yeah, that's right. They're domestic.
I mean, I've
terrorism.
never been so triggered by soccer mom.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and their SUVs.
Minivans
The
are even
minivans.
more. They're like tanks to me.
Yeah,
They scare me.
they trigger me.
I really worry that Karen's going to walk in a school board meeting packing
I can what?
heat.
Eat? Oh,
Yeah. Better be strapped or get clapped, bro.
well, you know that stick figure family on the back of that car.
Yep.
You know that they're carrying.
I saw the funniest, and we'll end after this. I promise.
We promise.
I saw the funniest stick figure family bumper sticker on the back of a minivan.
Yeah.
It was the dad, the mom, and like 8 kids. and then after it, in like kind of like, I don't even know if you can call it stick figure font, it just said OMG, get off of her. 8 kids. Oh my God, get off of her.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
That's family that definitely doesn't have cable TV, that couple.
no, they
No.
can't afford it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just meant they're not watching TV, they're busy doing other things, which is how they ended up with 8 kids.
That's a good point. Yeah. I
Yeah.
didn't think about that.
They needed double
Double-hulled
hulled condoms.
DHC.com.
And this is the part of the show where the rubber meets the road, folks. Episode 49's in the bag.
Yes.
And we'll catch you on episode 51, because that's what comes after 49 in our world.
Absolutely.
We don't make the rules, we just enforce them.
That's it. Have a great one.
Or have a mediocre one if you're incapable of a great one, but just have one,
Right.
whatever one you choose. Because,
All about choice.
yeah, your one, your choice. And you still have the freedom to do that in America, at least probably for the next week or two.
Yeah, a little bit left.
Yeah.
A little bit of freedom.
Just, yeah, so you go ahead. You do you.
You're still here. It's over. Go home. Go check your penis. Go.
This is P1 listener Drew Hashimura, and you're listening to the X Factor podcast, where I come for great book recommendations.